I want to talk about something that gets highly overlooked when a lot of people buy these Chinese dirt bikes. You put them together, you screw everything up, you hop on it, change the oil, do some mods, and you're good to go. Everything feels great, right? But then all of a sudden, you realize, oh, this thing vibrates a little bit more than most bikes. Yes, it does. And what that vibration does is it makes it easier for a lot of the bolt and the nut to kind of loosen themselves. So it's not like they'll loosen up immediately overnight unless you just don't torque it down at all. But over time, things will loosen. So every 3 or 4 oil changes, I like to go around and tighten every single bolt and nut and anything that I see on the bike. I tighten it up. A few times when I first got the bike, before it was broken in, it vibrated a ton, like probably 3 or 4 times as much as it vibrates right now. Now that it's all broken in, it doesn't vibrate much at all. But in those first couple weeks, I had the front axle and the rear axle not loosen themselves multiple times. So you really want to make sure you're tightening the front axle and the rear axle, or at least checking it. So for a while I did it every ride, and now I do it every couple of oil changes. And for the last 2 or 3 oil changes, nothing's been loose. But just a PSA for all the people out there who have recently bought Hawk and are riding them out all the time. So check your bolts. Guys, I had a dream last night, and the only thing I can remember from my dream is that I was on my motorcycle in my neighborhood, like around the areas where I usually... Oh, that car looks sick. Hold on, let's go back and look at that. That looks so cool. But yeah, as I was saying, the only thing I can remember from my dream last night is I was driving around these regular roads that I always drive on, but they were all paved perfectly, and they were all way more twisty than normal. And I was on like a super sportish motorcycle. I just remember like putting my knee down and like going fast through the curves and going back and forth through like little street chicanes. Oh my god, it was the coolest dream. I remember waking up and the first thing I felt was disappointment. Like, oh fuck, that wasn't real. I was like psyched for a quarter of a second, and I was like, nope, that was all a dream. But we'll get there eventually. I really want to do track days. That's definitely happening next summer, whether it be with the next bike I buy or just a track toy. Puppy. Try to keep it low volume when I pass dogs. I don't want to scare them. I'm always surprised at how comfortable the bike is riding at higher gears than it feels like it should. Like right now, I'm cruising in 3rd gear at 20 miles an hour, and I'm chilling. And 1st gear can get to 20 miles an hour if I ring it out. So I gotta get better at being higher up. I don't need all the power at my fingertips at all times, especially when I move up to a stronger bike. I'm gonna have to utilize this more often, because right now I can stay in like 2nd and just have a twitchy throttle all over the place, and it doesn't really punish me too much. Like I can even get on the throttle a little bit in the middle of a turn, and it doesn't really matter too much. But this guy backing up? No. But yeah, it doesn't even matter too much. But when I get a stronger bike, that will be a problem. That's how you low side. So I gotta start building good habits so that it's not such a shock when I hop on a faster bike. Because while this bike is very slow and it teaches you a lot and it's fun to ride a slow bike fast, it also covers up a lot of your mistakes, which is a good thing because I don't end up, you know, sliding across the pavement. But It's also a bad thing because you can build bad habits as you make mistakes over and over again and you're not punished for them. So there's been a few times where I felt the rear kick out on me when I leaned too hard in a turn and got back on the throttle. But that was usually just because my body position was all wrong. Or I came into the turn with too little speed and then tried to speed up way too early while I was still applying more lean. And on a bike like this, you typically don't want to hang off the bike too much. Like, this isn't a supermoto. This is an enduro setup with a big ass front wheel, so it's not going to have the fastest turn in. You want to make sure that when you're riding a bike like this, that your apex is decided while you're slowing down, if you know what I mean. Like, you want to make sure you stop as much as you need to before the turn happens, so that you can safely go through the turn and then exit it safely. You don't want to ride it like a super sport or a supermoto where you're putting your knee down and backing it in and then trail braking through it. You can do that on a bike like this, I suppose, but it's really not built for something like that. It doesn't have the turn-in speed of a bike with smaller wheels. The big 21-inch front wheel really limits your maneuverability in terms of that kind of thing. But, you know, if you want to go over logs, that's good for that. So, well, I love this bike, and I don't think I'll sell it unless I really need to pay for my next bike. But I do think I'm ready for an upgrade. What do you guys think? It's hard to, you know, be super self-aware in this situation because I cannot stop thinking about better bikes. You know, right now I'm pretty dead set on the GSX S750, not the GSX-R. It's the naked version, the S. So the Gixxus, not the Gixxer. That bike looks great, absolutely fantastic. It's like 8.2K, brand new, has traction control, a big old K5 750 engine, fast, very torquey. It's got a comfortable seating position. It's one of the more sportier naked bike setups. But then there's also the Tuono 660, which is just an outstanding bike. But when I start getting into that price range, I'd rather get the RS 660, but then that pushes it up even higher, and now we're up to like 12, 13 grand, and with dealer fees, that's pushing the bike into the $13,000, $14,000 range. And then you have to deal with Aprilia, which is notoriously slow when it comes to doing literally anything. From what I've heard, their warranties hold up, and they do take care of their customers. It just takes for fucking ever for them to do so. So consider that if you're also considering an Aprilia like I am. But with a new bike, ideally you shouldn't need too much. Missed fifth gear. That was weird. I don't think I pressed up hard enough. My car has started to make a weird noise, like a chatter in the engine every now and then. I might take it to a dealership and trade it in, because right now I ride a Kia Optima 2015, I believe, or 2016, and it's still worth as much as I paid for it because I bought it around 2016, and the market just went up and went up and up and went up since then, and I got a pretty good deal on it at the time. So I could potentially sell my car, buy another car cheaper, and then buy a bike with the money remaining left over, or put a down payment on a really nice bike. But I'd rather just buy it outright if I'm going to be selling my car for it. The problem is I got to make sure I get another car that's just as reliable as my car has been for me. My Optima, I haven't had a single problem with it at all until now, where it might just be a vibration issue where something needs to be like screwed down tighter. But I got like 60,000 miles on it now. I figured now would be the point where issues start popping up, and the resale value is so high that I might as well do it. And I might be able to get myself a little, like, you know, like 2013 Honda Civic or something. Just something small, cheap, reliable. I like my Kia Optima, but it's just so big and it's not that fun to drive. There's no like really redeeming qualities about its driving characteristics. It's kind of fast on the freeway and the highway, but not really, you know, it's nothing special. So I think I get a fun little car, even if it's like a Miata, but I might be a little big for a Miata. That would look hilarious. But there's a lot of options out there, and there's a lot of cars that are, you know, around $10,000, and if I were to sell my car, I'd probably get around $15,000. So if I get a $10,000 car, that leaves me with $5,000 left over to buy a bike. The problem with that is after fees and everything, it really probably leaves me with like $3,500 left to buy a bike. Oh wait, why did I turn in here? That was dumb. I didn't mean to do that. We get to see the cool paper cup car again. Oh fuck, I forgot I can't go left here anymore. So frustrating. This is like the connector street into town that I would always use, because it's a nice little back road and it has a small little twisties over the left, but it's been cut off the last month and it's so frustrating. The cement is so sparkly. Like the asphalt that they use for this road has a ton of whatever that sparkly stuff is they put in it, and it actually looks sick. It doesn't even look real. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but oh man, I thought that leaf was a bird for a second, just sitting in the middle of the road. It wasn't though. We're safe. Alright, I need to go to the gym. I'm over here riding in circles. Right now, since I haven't been streaming too much on Twitch, I don't really have a platform to rant on the same way that I used to. What was nice about Twitch streaming every day is I got on there and I just started fucking firing off at the mouth. Just pure ranting about whatever happening in my life or in culture or social media. And it felt like the appropriate space to do so. And sometimes in the moto vlogs I struggle with, if I talk about something, it might not be what people want to hear, but I might just start opening up the subject matter a little bit more. You guys probably noticed the format. I make a title and a thumbnail, that correlates to the first like 2 minutes of the video, that have like some kind of like, not clickbaity, but an attractable thing to it. Like we talk about a mod, we talk about a top speed, the gas mileage, check out a new area, something for like kind of like a theme of the video, and then we just go into the regular MotoVlog section of it. And I really like that right now, and I look forward to the point where I can get to like, you know, Brian level, like Jixer Bruh, Fooligan. Those guys are kind of my inspiration for the type of motovlogging I want to do. And I know I'm really late in the game when it comes to motovlogging, and I'm not like a bike life, bike culture guy, because, you know, I don't really have that many friends who even know anything about bikes, let alone have a bike. So it's a little bit different take on the whole bike life stuff, and I think it's maybe a little bit more relatable, because there can't be that many people that just have, you know, a dozen friends to hang out every day to just do wheelies in the streets like that. That's just not possible around here. There's not that many people with a like-minded thought process when it comes to this kind of stuff. And I think that's just kind of small town living. If I lived in a bigger metropolitan area, you know, I would have a lot more people to interact with and network with. You know, but you know, if there's any motovloggers out there in the Rhode Island, Southeast Mass area, let me know. I do want to try different bikes, so that would be cool. I know there's been a lot of buzz out there about those CF Moto bikes. Everybody's been reviewing them lately. They're like a little bit higher end Chinese bikes. They're not clones of anything. They're just, you know, Chinese manufacturer with their own bikes. And they make naked bikes and sport bikes for like the mid-tier. But they recently revealed and put out their 650 version of their street bike and their naked bike. And those seem pretty good. The problem is the price. They're like $6,500, which sounds like a good price for a solid street bike, but then you realize the Jixus is $8,000, and you're getting the legendary Suzuki K5 engine in that beast. So it just doesn't when you compare it to everything else, it's not worth it. There's so many good bikes you can get in the used market for $5K, $6K, and then if you go to the brand new market, you just spend like a few thousand more than CF Moto, and it'll be way better. So it's tough. I think they're at a very tough price point. If they brought it down to like 4,700, something like that, around 5,000, then they would be able to scoop up so many deals. But the problem is that that price range, there's just so many options that are only a few $1,000s away that are premium products, like the R7. That thing is just a beautiful premium bike. Not the most powerful thing in the world. It's more of a torque machine, kind of shaped as a sports bike, like an MT-07 with full fairings, essentially. But that's exactly what you want out of a street bike, you know? Torque everywhere, usable on the streets. The only problem is the R7 has a super aggressive seating position, but honestly, for what it's trying to be, which is a usable sport bike for the street, it's probably satisfying for its customer base, because those people want a street bike. They want to be street bike life. They want to be sitting over on their bike. They want that cool aggressive posture. They want the racing ergonomics, even though it's not a real race bike. But you can take that thing to the track, no problem. You know, it's not going to hang with the R6s, but if you're better than the guys on the R6s, you'll hang up with them, no problem. That's the case with motorcycling. Skill over power any day. Any day. But I've noticed when it comes to talking to people who are kind of new with bikes, a lot of people don't really understand the classes. Like when you hear that the MT-07 has almost 700 cc's of displacement, you think that must be faster than a 636 or an R6 or a CBR 600, because those only have 600 cc's of displacement. But it's just not true. It's just the way they deliver power and what they're set up to do are different. So keep in mind, the same reason why Harley Davidson with, you know, 1200 cc's is slower than a Kawasaki Ninja with 400. With that being said, time for me to go lift some things and then put them down. See you guys later.